Afternoon, folks. A wee second, I'll be right with you. Sort Facebook out. And then I'll sort this nut job out. Right, let's sort this nut job out. Hey, Grant. Not bad, mate. You just made it a legend status. Because I've just kicked off a live broadcast, you muppet. It's Thursday at 4 o'clock. Mind your language, Timothy. I'll catch you in an hour, dear boy. Catch you later, dear boy. Bloody truck drivers, what they like. Oh, hold on a minute. Truck drivers, what they like here. Absolutely mental. Anyway, that's about the fourth time that's happened, and they're all on the legend board. You know, we've got Mr. Milligan, we've got my gaffer for the work. I think Paul Coven phoned me once, and new big Grant. Anyway, welcome aboard, everybody. As you can see, I'm on my own again today. David's been in the capable hands of our NHS today, and he's in a bit of pain, so he's not in the right place to join me today. Okay, so this will again be done in the style of Indie Truck Davy. So it's the two Davies on the 4th of the 4th, 2024, but in the style of Indie Truck Davy. So it's Indie Truck Davy out the truck and at home in his office in Salford, North Lanarkshire, where it's slightly overcast, warm enough at 7 degrees. Not bad for a spring day. At least it's dry. That's the weather forecast for Salford, North Lanarkshire. If you want to know what the weather's like where you are, look out your own bloody window. And maybe leave a wee comment so I know what the weather's like where you are. Okay. Now, welcome aboard, everyone. Numbers are climbing well. So we'll start. Settle back, children. We have the story of 3 polls. Well, 2 polls and a survey of polling, actually. 2 polls released on Monday. Not much of a fanfare here in Scotland. Surveyation poll of 15,029 people, an MRP poll, had the SNP on 41 seats. Here in Scotland, another landslide, taking 41.1% of the popular vote. On the same day on Monday, we had a study of polls by the Electoral Calculus Company, commissioned by the Tory Graph. No friends to Scotland, no friends to the SNP, but even they had the SNP winning the majority here in Scotland on 32 seats, and that's as low as it's ever been. Reputable polling companies normally have it between 37 and the low 40s here in Scotland for the SNP seat count. But hey presto, today out comes a YouGov poll. And in that YouGov poll, they're telling us that the SNP will take 19 seats and fall behind Labour here in Scotland. Never heard so much nonsense in all my life. Now, apparently this poll was an MRP poll, but we can't actually prove it because YouGov don't offer up their stats for us to scrutinise. But if I'm wrong on that and somebody's got a copy of these stats, send them to me to have a look at their methodology, because something doesn't sit right with this poll. And how's the Tories in a better score than the Surveyation poll? And the SNP, it's an outlier. No even Redwood and Wooten, who are the new kids in the block and whose polling methodology doesn't really make much sense, has been able to come up with a mad number like 19 seats. But let's face it, the press are hammering the SNP at the moment. But there's absolutely no chance that this poll's right. None. I can't wait to hear what Professor John Curtis is going to say about this one. That ought to be interesting, because this is right out the park. And when I talk, I mean right out the park. It's an outlier and a half. So, they say, I don't really know how they cooked this book, but it makes no sense. Well, what was interesting about this poll is, unlike the other two polls announced on Monday, this poll was trumpeted right across the press and the mainstream media. But, as I say, this one's an outlier and a half. But the press have been hammering the SNP, which brings us on to the second subject. Since April 1st and the introduction of the hate crime bill here in Scotland, every lunatic in Scotland has been trying to get themselves arrested for hate crime. The First Minister's even been reported to Police Scotland because of the guidance that was put out to go with this bill. States that young white 18 to 30-year-olds who are disenfranchised here in Scotland are most likely today to be stirring up hate. Now, I don't know why that would be considered a hate crime. It's a fact. Scotland's 96% white. It's just a fact. If there's going to be anybody stirring up hate, it will be young white males who are disenfranchised between 18 and 30. It could only be likely that they would be the people most likely to stir up hate. A, they're disenfranchised, and B, they're no minority in Scotland. They're the majority in Scotland. Yeah, apparently the guidance is a hate crime in itself. This is nuts! J.K. Rowling is a bit upset she hasn't been arrested. The way the press reported it was that J.K. Rowling has misgendered people. No, J.K. Rowling has just expressed the opinion that transgender people were their biological sex. She didn't encourage people to hate them. If she had, that would have been a hate crime. The guidance for the hate crime bill, pointing out the obvious, isn't a hate crime. In fact, to all the lunatics that I've seen talking about this stuff, and I've seen some right nut jobs talking about this stuff, telling us we could get arrested in our houses if we say something like, phone a chinky darling, or nip out to the packy show. Terms that aren't really used here anymore anyway. But the notion that you could be arrested for that, and that it was a hate crime, that's nuts. It's a description of two people's races. Or two businesses, owners' races. The statement doesn't mean that you hate the person who's delivering your takeaway, or that the nice Asian guy that runs the shop across the road isn't a nice person. It's just describing his origin. There seems to be some right idiots out there, but there is one celebrity out there who's pounding the hate crime nonsense, and that's Ali McCoist. Because he stated that he will be committing a hate crime on Sunday at the football match between the Bigot brothers in Glasgow. He's actually telling us that he's going to be encouraging sectarianism and the hatred of the Catholic faith. You don't expect to hear that for such a high-profile Scottish personality and hero of us all. A man who put on the Scotland shirt allegedly with pride and who isn't a bigot. So how could he be willing to put himself up in public and say that he is going to commit a hate crime and he is going to encourage other people to hate Catholics. And that he's going to do it at a very prominent fixture. I'm just wondering how he's going to do it. Is he going to put pictures of himself up, singing up to his knees in Fenian blood? That one astonished me. But the rest of the nonsense that I've heard from people like Neil Oliver and all that crap, and Scotland's just shut down freedom of speech. Nae coppers have tapped my door since Monday, since I described wee Mrs. McGlumper next door as an old woman because she's 86. Nae coppers tapped my door because I said on Monday that Annie in the corner is a transgender woman, but biologically male, because hasn't had the operation yet. Nobody, no police have came to my door because I described Alec in the other corner's religion as Jewish. This is nonsense. People have to understand the definition of the hate crime bill. In order for me to have been committing a hate crime against any of these three groups that have been protected under this bill, I would need to have been encouraging all my neighbours to hate me, Mrs. McGlumper, to hate Annie, and to hate Alec. We Mrs. McGlumper because of her age, Annie because she's transgender, and Alec because he's Jewish. Well, that's not what I did. I described three people. One is old, one is transgender, and one is of a certain faith. Now, I've tried to explain this for the half-wits out there. I'll try again. Describing somebody, even in a derogatory manner, isn't a hate crime. It becomes a hate crime when you encourage others publicly to hate a group, a minority, an age group, a gender type. It's when you encourage others to hate, it becomes a hate crime. This is stupid. It doesn't impinge on anybody's freedom of speech. Unless the intent of the person doing the speaking is to whip up a frenzy and hatred against another people. A fine example of a hate crime would be how Netanyahu is whipping the Israeli people to hate the Palestinians. There is no doubt what Hamas did was horrendous. There's absolutely equally no doubt what Israel's doing is horrendous. But the reasons why Hamas were doing what they were doing and the reason why Israel was doing what they're doing are two different things. One was a people whose government had been seeing this people oppressed for a long, long time and knew that people were about to be wiped off the map because of Netanyahu's appearance at the United Nations. And the other one was the occupying force intending on wiping these people off the map. We'll get a wee bit more of that as we move on. But this hate crime nonsense, hate crime bill nonsense is absolutely outrageous, but it's being thumped in the press. And if it sticks in people's minds that they don't have freedom of speech anymore, then maybe that 19 seats will actually work. But that's what propaganda is for. You know, a new person at my work, absolutely wonderful person, lives in the village here. We get on a lot of house and fire. But she was telling me that Nicola Sturgeon left her position as leader of the SNP under a cloud. And I asked her what that cloud this was. She says, well, all that money went missing for the SNP. I says, nobody's proved any money's missing and nobody's been arrested. And then I said to her, I see the propaganda does work. You know, this hate crime nonsense has got to stop. As I say, the guy who stewarded this bill through Holyrood was a Tory. Professor of Law at Glasgow University and a Tory MSP at the time. This bill is nothing like is being described in the press. Nothing. It doesn't impinge on anybody's freedom of speech. Unless they're standing in an auditorium encouraging everybody in that auditorium to hate a certain gender group, religious group, or age group, which is all that this bill covers. Because they were holes in the other legislation we have. We have the Equalities Act, and we have the Race Hate Act. But gender, age, and religion weren't protected here. That's all it does. And the reason why they're getting away with this, because they know that the average Joe on the street hasn't read the bill. As I challenged the guy in the comments that disagreed with me, go read the bill. And as been pointed out in the comments by Mark Telfer there, is this bill just brings us into alignment with England and Wales, where religious groups were protected in 2000 against hatred in 2006, and age groups and gender groups were protected in England in 2008. In fact, generally, this stuff's all protected right across Europe. Scotland was the outlier, actually. This bill just brings Scotland into line with everybody else. But what the mainstream media does, the propaganda machine does, it takes advantage of the fact that makes Joe Blogs on the street doesn't fucking know that. It makes Joe Blogs on the street isn't going to go on his search engine to find that out. And that's the difference between me and Mace Joe Blogs. I'm going to go and look when this nonsense is in the press. And I mean, I'm going to go and look when this nonsense is in the press. And Linda, your remark is quite timely, because we're moving on. But we'll get to Operation Branchflower in a minute. Okay. Right, let's move on. It's been another bad week for Anas Sarwar and the Scottish Labour Party. Because Anas has had to ditch the party's demand for the Scottish Party demand for a ceasefire, an immediate unconditional ceasefire in Gaza, because HQ in London ignored it. And now Anas is having to try and answer questions on the Labour leadership in London via Pat McFadden, the Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, or Lancashire, whatever it is, Lancashire, Shire, whatever. Anyway, he tells Sky News, Sophie Richley, that Labour would continue to sell arms to Israel unless it was proven that Israel had breached international humanitarian law. He said they were guided by international humanitarian law. Never so much crap in my life. I'll tell you what they're guided by in a minute. But when you think about that, how's Sarwar going to answer that when he's telling the people that he'll store up to his HQ, and now he's going to say he's taking their stance on Israel? Now, why are Labour and the Tories deferring to Israel here? Well, actually, it's a tale of two lobby groups. the Tories are enthralled and in hock financially, because that's where a lot of the backers are, to the UK's vast military industrial complex. And Labour, the whole bloody lot of the front bench, including this McFadden, 71 of them are in hock to the Israeli lobby group, Labour's Friends for Israel, including Starmer, who took £50,000 for Labour Friends of Israel group to get elected as Labour leader. So we've got the Tories in hock to the vast military industrial complex, where their donors are, and we'll get Starmer in hock to Labour Friends for Israel, because they're flooding the Labour Party with money. Unreal. But as all this is going on, 600 court judges here in the UK petition Westminster for arms sales to Israel. Lady Hale, ex-president of the Supreme Court, down that road. The lady with a big spider brooch, the one that ruled that Boris Johnson had illegally paroled Parliament. Joanne Cherry's case in the Court of Sessions in Scotland. Anyway, she makes it brutally clear that when the ICJ ruled that it was a plausible case for genocide in Gaza, the UK, the US, them all should have halted military aid, arms sales and diplomatic aid to Israel. The hypocrisy of it. Putin goes into Ukraine and the whole world sanctions Putin. Israel's committing war crimes in Gaza, and the West still supporting it and undermining the United Nations and the rule of international law. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Meanwhile, here in Scotland, well, Annas is having to shut his gob in Davies Tell by the Red Tory HQ in London. Meanwhile, Mr. Youssef, First Minister of Scotland, continues his humanitarian stance on what's going on in Gaza. And he writes to the PM, Spit, Sunak, Titchy Sunak, to ask him to stop arms sales to Israel. Ask him, I'd be bloody well demanding. In fact, I wouldn't have wrote to him. I would have done that road and dragged the titchy wee bugger out in the street and bounced him along it. But that's just me. Hey, you know, and in the letter, Mr. Youssef says, come on, they're breaking international law, but we know he's going to be ignored. That's Westminster's policy on Scotland. Ignore it. You know what's funny about it is, see, listen to Scotland. We wouldn't have any fucking Brexit. We wouldn't have any Gulf War. And we certainly wouldn't be breaching international law. And we wouldn't have Titchy Sunak on the telly this morning telling us he wants to undermine our human rights by withdrawing from the European Court of Human Rights, so that he can send 200 people to Rwanda at a cost of 1.4 million quid a pop. Is it just me that thinks this is all gone mental? Anyway, we'll get back to Israel when we'll talk about some of the other madness that's going on at the moment. Okay, happy anniversary, Operation Branchform. Friday will be a year since Peter Murrell was asked to come in for questions, and that the police set up forensic tents outside the First Minister's house for no reason whatsoever. It's a fraud case. All they needed was some paperwork and some computers, because everything's done online these days. Absolutely nuts. Anyway, Operation Branchform is now 3 years old. It's being bounced around in the press again, full of nonsense I see in the BBC on what we know about Branchform. It's 3 years old, folks. And they 3 years they found nothing wrong. They haven't found any missing funds. They've seized a bus, stole wee Mrs. Beattie's coffee and tea, nicked Nicola's secateurs for dinner garden, and come up with nothing. £1.6 million, and the wee man only knows how many police hours wasted, and not a single shred of evidence or claim of criminality has over that 3 years been presented to the Procurator Fiscal's office or the Crown office. Now, I don't know who's running this. What I do know is that it's political, it's not criminal. And I do know that it's time that Police Scotland were called out and asked where they're at, why this is taking so long, it's why we're 3 years in and not a single person has been charged. And I think it's time we did that, folks. And we can. And I can tell you how we do it. The Chief Constable here in Scotland is Jo Farrell. And you can contact her and ask her what the hell's going on via Police Scotland's website. And you can do that via www.policescotland.uk. Contact us, via www.policescotland.uk/contact-us/ that's it. Or just go to your search engine, put in Police Scotland, up will come their website. There'll be a Contact Us section at the top, and it'll tell you if it's not urgent. There's an online form that you can fill out. Address the online form to Jo Farrell, Police Constable, Chief Police Constable of Scotland, and ask her where this is at, why it's taken 3 years, why not a single person is being charged, why no evidence of any criminality over that 3 years has been presented to the Procurator Fiscal Office or the Crown Office, and ask her when she's going to stop wasting public money and police time and energy. By putting pressure on Police Scotland, we might find out whether it's them that's running this, or whether it's the Home Office that's running it and keeping it alive, or whether it's the Crown Office which is running it and keeping it alive. That would be Charlie getting involved in politics, and that ain't allowed. So there you go, folks. It's about time to wake this one up and shut it down. Whom used to have said that all with the SNP would be relieved that they shut it down. We're actually at the point they're getting no mileage out of this with the unions. They're getting no mileage out of this for the press. No, even the looniest lunatic out there. Remember, most people know lunatics. Most people voted in their wallets in the last referendum because of the way it was put forward. Economic uncertainty. The pound in their pocket was more important than their children's futures. But let's talk about lunatics. Actual unionists. They're not even getting any mileage out of this because nobody believes a word of it. 3 years in, nobody's charged. Millions of pounds of public money wasted. It's time we put a wee bit of pressure on Police Scotland. They answer to us, Police Scotland. We finance them. So, search engine, Police Scotland, up will come their website, contact us, non-urgent form, get battered into them keyboard warriors. Enjoy yourself, it'll be fun. I filled mine out earlier. Another couple of thousand would help. Because this one's out of hand. And I mean that. This is nonsense. Anybody that's looked at the Electoral Commission's rules on how political parties spend their money know that the SNP haven't done anything wrong. Anybody who's read the EFFER rules and how political parties spend their money know the SNP haven't done anything wrong. Not a thing. They couldn't spend the money on a referendum. The money was then spent on keeping the SNP in power and independence at the forefront. They rule against that. Unless, of course, all the 600, the members that donated that money wanted their money back. But I've never seen anybody demanding money back. I've never seen anybody complaining about winning the elections we won. Right. I think we've done that one to death, actually. I'm fed up hearing about this stupid investigation. There isn't any investigation going on. You've got a couple of plods sitting in an office somewhere with a fag and a cup of tea, getting paid to sit in their arse doing nothing, because there's nothing here to see. If there was, people would have been up in front of the beak already. And I mean that. People would have been in court already. They've had the books for years. 3 years now. If they couldn't have been through the books in 3 years, they maybe want to hire an accountant. They'd have done it in 30 minutes. Mental. Right, let's move on. It would appear the green ports. Green ports are at the forefront of the problems here in Scotland. They're all. We started after a week with Jamie Greer of the Greens wanting the policy looked at again because it could impede Scotland's route back into the EU. And now we'll get the SNP, a trade union group, which is the biggest lobby group within the SNP, demanding that the policy be looked at again. And they're claiming that the green free ports just a way to drain money out of the economy. And that's true. You move your company into a green port area, you get tax relief. No paying tax drags money out of the economy. And then we'll get the Scottish Trade Union Congress asking it to be looked at again, the green free ports. Because what they're saying is, who's protecting workers' rights within these ports? The STUC says if any company wants to open up in these ports, the Scottish Government should insist that all workers' rights apply and that each of these companies pay the Scottish Government's living wage at £12 an hour. So it looks as if green free ports has turned into a bit of a stooshy here. Now, as we know, free ports, we've had them here for a long time, they failed. And the reason why they failed is because they take money out of the economy, they don't create jobs, and they're dens of criminality. And that's not just me saying this. The EU have recently done a study of the 82 free ports in their Schengen area. And their conclusion, have they created any economic bounce? Have they created any jobs? Moved jobs from one part of the economy into these places where lower taxes are paid, so the economy, the government takes a beating on the tax front, and they become dens of smuggling and criminality. There you go. So, free ports are turning into, or green free ports as they're calling them here in Scotland, they're turning into a bit of stushy. Now, maybe the Scottish Government should have another look at these. Although, on Monday next week, the one in Cromarty goes live. The tax situation there has been sorted out for Cromarty. But you've got to remember, Cromarty was the last free port here anyway, and it had only recently been shut down. So there was already a framework there to work with. Whereas the one that's been announced along there at Rosyth, no proposal will be put forward for tax arrangements and business arrangements for the one at Rosyth. Will it get off the ground? Don't know. I really don't. But as I say, they're becoming a real topic here, these green free ports. Because there's a lot of issues haven't been sorted out. Because once your companies are within these free port zones, you may less out with government control. So, there you go. So, let's move on to the wider UK and see what madness is going on in the wider UK, shall we? Well, apart from Sunak this morning telling the telly, apparently, that he would like to take us out of the ECHR, the European Convention on Human Rights, as we already spoke about. Fears increased that food prices and food shortages grow. Now, as the imposition of tariffs, import tariffs comes in at the end of this month, there is huge fears of food price inflation going up. Mind, it's still running about 11% food price inflation. Talk about that going up again, forcing inflation up again, and food shortages. Okay, now each consignment of food coming in will need certification, and that's 145 quid a pop. Now, most lorries will be carrying multiple consignments. That's a lot of dough. That's a lot of money. Even though checks are not being done, these trucks will be getting waved through. They're still going to collect the revenue on each consignment that says it's there on the paperwork. So let's say I have got 3 different consignments of cheese from France, maybe a couple of consignments of cooked meats, salami, that sort of thing for Italy, in the back of my fridge. Now let's say maybe some fish to Portugal, whatever. Anyway, I've got 5 or 6, 10, 12, 14 small consignments of different food groups on the back of my truck. You're talking about thousands and thousands of pounds to get it in. But as I say, even though they're not checking these lorries, they're just taking the paperwork, having a look at what it says on it, stamping it, taking the dough in the form of taxation, and waving it through. As I said the other day, going to the supermarket is a game of Russian roulette at the moment. It's about to get worse. It's about to get a lot worse. So it looks like food prices will be on the way up again at the end of the month. And believe it or not, Labour are now shouting for the tariffs not to be imposed. It's a legal necessity. It's got to be done. Otherwise, the World Trade Organization is going to come stomping through the door. As the UK imbalances the playground out there. and international trade. Just won't be allowed. Okay. As I say, going to the supermarket now, kids, and going forward, game of Russian roulette. You never know if what's in the packaging is what it's meant to be. Because there are no checks. We don't have enough vets. And the stuff we're sending out to be processed, is it the same quality we're getting back? Well, if I was sending my prime quality meat to Romania to be processed, and the Romanian processor is also processing Romanian meat, they are fancy selling fine Scottish beef on the Romanian market and sending their crap to us. Yep. So, you never know what's going to be in the package now. So, buy locally. Alright. Now, the other story I want to cover down that road was in the iNews, and young Reagan Elite, if he's there, put me up with this one. And that is that state schools in England face bankruptcy and closure. State schools. Now, why is this? Well, according to Jeff Barton, who's head of the TED Teachers Association, he says the cost of temporary classrooms and fixing knackered buildings is to come out of the schools' budgets. Therefore, they can't afford to hire more teachers or teachers' assistants, and they can't afford to fix these buildings and maintain paying for temporary classrooms. So the schools will go bankrupt and close. Can you imagine that? No school for your kid to go to. It's had to shut because it's bankrupt. But this is a major failure of government. And it's reflected right across society down that road. And I mean this sincerely. They really need to get a grip on this. If you don't have a healthy, well-educated population, you cannot maintain a good economy. You cannot have a high-paying, a skills-based economy, because you won't have people with these skills, and they just won't be fit enough to do it. And you've got 250 people a week apparently dying waiting in A&E down that road, in buildings that are falling down. There's been an ongoing genocide here in the UK since the Tories came into power. But they have wrecked their economy. And they've wrecked the future of their economy. With tuition fees, we no investing in the school estate, and now because here, they're facing schools closing. And of course, when Labour get in, they tax the public school sector, the private sector. Apparently, stats say 60,000 of them won't be able to afford to go there anymore. So they'll be coming into the public sector. A public sector in England where schools will be closing down because they're bankrupt, apparently. Labour are going to inherit a mess. But this isn't a mess that Labour's going to be able to fix quickly. Which means that downward trajectory will continue as the population becomes less educated. They'll no need to worry about tuition fees because they'll be able to go into higher education. They won't be qualified to go into higher education. So they can kiss goodbye to their world beaten or famous universities. Kiss them goodbye. Because the teaching staff's no staying. They have wrecked their own future for generations to come by who they've voted for. I mean, we've renewed the school estates, basically. Renewed the hospital estates. Free tuition. Extended childcare. The child uplift. Free travel for 12 to 23-year-olds. I mean, I got a letter from Rachel Rees, the Shadow Chancellor for the Labour Party, saying that Parents can't afford to buy their kids shoes for school. Quite obvious she's not aware that every child that's eligible here in Scotland gets a £275 grant to buy the school uniform. She also told me in a letter the pensioners can't afford to heat their houses or feed themselves. I don't remember Labour lifting pensioners out of fucking poverty when they were in. Don't remember it at all. The bar's always been set low in the pensions, even when Labour was in. There was some discussion with somebody about the minimum wage the other day. Isn't it great how much the Tories have risen? I've lifted it up. I imagine 16% over 3 years. About bloody time. If there'd never been a minimum wage, inflation would have wages way up higher than the other day. Because company owners would have had to pay inflation rate pay rises just to hold on to their bloody workforces. If inflation had been driving wages, people would have been 10 grand a year better off. That's the fucking economic incompetence of Labour. But their education system's fallen down and faces closing down. That's beyond incompetent. We need to get away from these people because they hold our purse strings and they're dragging us down with them. And the other thing about it is the poorly educated, bad health population gets worse. They're going to be more dependent on the fit, well-educated Scottish population to sustain them and their resources. It's time to get to fuck or our children don't stand a chance. Because right now, the people of England's future has been fucked for generations to come. No social care, failing health care, failing education system, crumbling court and failing court systems, police system on its arse, society in England is breaking down. And they're talking here's about hate crime bills. Fuck's sake. This one really shocked me, folks. State schools facing bankruptcy. Bad enough councils are facing bankruptcy. If councils are facing bankruptcy and it's councils that are providing the state schools, of course state schools are going bankrupt. Fucking incompetence. Here a wee rant for you folks. Davies not done one in a while. But this one. These people have ruined the future of England's children and the future of England's economy. And you want to know what's interesting? At this point in time, the Tories have killed more people and the ongoing genocide here in the UK than what the fucking Israelis have in Gaza so far. Although that's likely to change over the next few weeks. We're about 330,000 deed to austerity in our last 14 years. Unnecessary deaths. That's called genocide when government policies wipes out that many of your population. Government policy wipes out 10,000 of your population. That's a genocide. 330 fucking thousand unnecessary deaths. And you're up by 250 a week at least. The people of England are mad. Mad. And they keep voting for these fucking incompetents. See when you're sitting up here on the outside looking in. It's fucking nuts. Wow. Aye, that's another thing. Well said. This summer's going to be a record for shite in the water down that road. What was it, 3.6 million tonnes or something like a day? They're just flushing their toilets right into the rivers. Disease is going to be rife down that road. Nobody's going to be educated. Do you know, I'm going to compare it to something shortly when I get to the Gaza situation. Right, we better move on. Another Labour U-turn. This time on childcare and early learning. Right? Now, last month, Labour's shadow education minister said Labour wouldn't implement the Tory childcare expansion plans in England and Wales. Sorry, just in England in this case. Because there's no infrastructure in place to accommodate it. And that Labour's education secretary, Bridget Phillipson, she said last month that if they were to extend childcare down that road, the system would collapse. Guess what? The very same shadow education system secretary, shadow education secretary, has just said that she will extend the childcare down that road. That would be to be applauded if she hadn't said the month before that if she did do this, the sector would collapse because there isn't enough people working in it and there is no infrastructure, meaning there's nowhere for these children to go for that care. Now, what she said is, if we open this scheme up, there'll be that many more come in, the existing situation would collapse. But now she's saying, I will dare. So what have we got? We've got the education system collapsing. We've got the court system collapsing. We've got the healthcare system collapsing. We've got the toilets being flushed straight into the rivers. And now we're talking about the collapse of early child care and learning. Talk about fucking breaking everything. Well, they don't have any social care down that road to speak of. The Tories have done it. From the cradle to the grave, they have wrecked the lives of the people in England. They've managed it. They're going to wreck the childcare system. Public state school system's going to fail. Health system's failed. Police and courts. Sewage. Is there anything working down that road? Anything? Councils all gone bust. Is there anything working? And yet here they're going to go again and vote for the same shite all over again. It's mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. Is there nobody can see with their own eyes down that road? This is nuts. And we definitely need to cut the tie with them, because otherwise we're going down with them. They won't even feed children in state schools down that road. We feed them all. And we're doing it in a fixed budget, which they dictate. Wow. Wow. Wasn't it just the Tories? This has been on for over 50 years. I've been watching this for all my life. All my life I've watched the madness down that road. This is devolution. It's been mind-blowing. As we've been improving people's lives and raising them up, that lot's been destroying their economy, their networks, their systems, and draining ours and our resources. Absolute nuts. Right, let's move on. Because I can't keep stating the obvious. Because when I keep repeating myself and stating the obvious and nobody's listening, it's like banging your head off a wall. Now, let's move on to Ukraine and Gaza, shall we? Ukraine's just about to take a dozen F-16 fighters for America, which they say is no longer any good to them. And NATO's proposing a 10-year package of assistance for Ukraine. I guess they're expecting this war to last a long time, worth £100 billion. Now, what Ukraine says it needs now are air defence systems, no planes, artillery shells. Now, Putin's making ground force, and apparently he's about to mobilise another 300,000 people for a summer soiree in Ukraine. Maybe it's time they sat down and get round the table again. Because if Trump wins across that way, Ukraine's getting no more finance. None. For the Americans. And let's move out to Gaza now, shall we? Gaza, endgame, extinction event. Why do I say that? I'll tell you why I've said that. For the same reason I say that England's no future, it's there the now. I've been watching this for the start. When they cut off the water, the electricity and the communications, I thought, hey ho. And then they stopped food getting in. I thought, yep. Then they destroyed the healthcare service, the education service. I thought, yep. Now they've killed our 200 aid workers trying to feed these people. They don't want food getting into the Gazans. Malnutrition, starvation, disease. This is what we call a final solution. In 12 weeks' time, that population is going to be dead. And anything that's left alive will be infertile, whether it be male or female. So basically, they've just wiped that. Essentially, they get the Palestinian people off the face of the earth if this gets to continue for another 12 weeks. If Israel can successfully, if Netanyahu, the nutjob, can successfully strategically cut off aid to these people, the 1.1 million people sheltered in Rafah, they're all dead. They're all dead within 12 weeks. Dehydration, disease, starvation. And that's why he's been taking out the healthcare system, the education system, taking out the water, taking out the electricity, taking out communications, and has been taking out UNRWA. When they allowed the UN to start up operations again, that's where the World Central Kitchen came in. Now he's chased them off. It's quite clear what Netanyahu's final solution is for the people of Gaza. It's not pretty. It is not pretty. And as stated earlier, Tories and Hawke to the UK's vast military-industrial complex. Labour and Hawke to the Israeli government. The new spokesperson for the UK to the Israeli government was a previous director of Labour Friends of Israel. This is an extinction event we are witnessing. And as I've watched each bit of this infrastructure being drawn away, it's been dropping. Netanyahu's final plan is just to kill them all. And do it in short order. And he'll manage it in 12 weeks. They'll starve to death. Disease is already rife. There's no sanitation, no healthcare. This, folks, this is where we're at. 1.1 million people were about 12 weeks away from death. And if Netanyahu can cut off aid, as he's been trying to do, sending GNOs scuppering from Gaza because they can't protect their people. I mean, let's look at the 3 gyms that died over there. These are the British citizens. We had James Chapman, James Kippy, and James Henderson, all ex-British military people. A couple in their 30s, one in the 50s, and they were all security for the World Central Kitchen. That was a deliberate strike. Israel wants the World Central Kitchen out of Gaza. They don't want the Gazan people fed. Starvation, disease, 12 weeks. The game's a bogey. Think about that. Think about that. Really. And we're all complicit, as has been pointed out now by 600 judges. We're all complicit. According to Lady Hale, the military assistance in selling of weapons to Israel should have stopped the day of the International Court of Justice's ruling. The day of its ruling that there was a plausible genocide being carried out in Gaza. Well, now we know, and now we know what the end plan is. Just starve them all to death. And in the meantime, kill as many as you can because there's no medical facilities. So there goes the elderly, those who have got diseases, and those who have got long-term illnesses, they're all gone even quicker. You're right, Margaret. The US real estate agents are rubbing their hands, and the construction companies. But mark my words, folks, if they get away with this, and they manage to wipe this 1.1 million people off the face of the earth, they'll turn their attention to the West Bank. They'll turn their attention to the West Bank. Right, that's what I've got for you today, folks. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you found it entertaining. I hope you enjoyed the wee rants. Now, please hit the like button, hit the share button, subscribe if you've not already subscribed. But if you look at what's going on down that road, and you look at what the Israelis have just done to wipe the Gazans out, it looks like the Westminster government is trying to wipe the people of England out. Well, you pump shit into your river, disease gets rife. Your animals get sick, your people get sick. Shut down your education system, you've basically shut down your economy and your prosperity. And the amount of people who are dying down that road because of austerity and failing infrastructure with the NHS, it's nuts. Anyway, folks, I hope you found it interesting. I hope you found it informative. David's working on getting the super chats back, folks, okay? But if you want to make a donation to Food Bank Funds, and we are putting plenty of money at the moment, David say we've just an emergency call to tell us that the Drumchapel Food Bank's in trouble. So David's sorting that out as we speak, and he's sorting money to go to the Indie 2 Cafe where they can use it to either generate more money or to give it out. Okay. Thanks for popping in. Viewing figures were wonderful again today, up over 200 again. And they, obviously, the majority are on YouTube, but share this across your social media, please. Especially the people in England. Let them understand what's happening down that road. Huh? But you guys have a great day. I'm going to work. Oh no, I'm not. I'm going to get a beer. Yay! Bye for now.